What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao, bringing you the latest news from Taipei. Taiwan says 4 Chinese Coast Guard vessels entered restricted waters near the outlying islands of Jinmen.
你违反台湾地区与大陆地区人民关系条例，进入我国禁限制水域，你的行动已经影响我国海域秩序及安全，请立即转向，尽速离开。
Taiwan Coast Guard said it immediately dispatched its own boats in response to the incident on Friday morning and ordered the Chinese vessels to leave. The Chinese ships left more than 2 hours later. Chinese ships have entered waters surrounding the outlying islands dozens of times this year. Taiwan's Coast Guard says such actions harm relations between the two sides. The head of Taiwanese electric scooter maker Gogoro has stepped down amid the company's poor performance and allegations of subsidy fraud. Horace Luke is Gogoro's founder and CEO. He was central to the company's expansion in Taiwan and overseas, and its public listing on the U.S. stock market. But Gogoro has recently encountered financial issues, suffering major losses in the past year. And this week, former employees alleged that the company has been using Chinese components to cut costs, passing them off as Taiwanese parts to receive millions of dollars in government subsidies. A government investigation in housing units around universities in Taiwan found that over half of the contracts inspected did not meet legal standards. Officials and community foundations are now warning students about these predatory lease agreements. Wesley Lewis reports.
It's the start of a new semester, and for many university students who couldn't get an on-campus dorm, the next option is to find a place to live around school. Some students say they pay close attention to the housing contracts, so they know what they're agreeing to.
租约的那个日期，然后金额，那还有一些什么须知这样该注意的，都有纠纷。
And according to a government investigation, their concerns are justified. The Consumer Protection Office inspected 100 housing contracts near universities across Taiwan and found that over half of them failed to meet legal standards.
比较严重的违规项目是房东并没有把特别重要的这个应记载项记载上去，担心我们这些大学生、这些房客会因为在这个租赁契约终了之后，房东会额外去从这个押租机中去扣除一些不该去扣除的费用。
The government investigators found that many of the predatory leases lacked satisfactory rental review provisions, procedures on how to settle fees after the contract has ended, and general tenant obligations. Among the violators were major real estate companies like Master Real Estate and Xingyi Realty. And community foundations say there are other things tenants should keep an eye out for.
电费以前可能是用1度电多少钱来做收费，7月15号以后的签了合约，电费的收取是必须符合台电的电费账单的，所以这个部分可能也要去特别留意。
The government investigation highlighted how widespread predatory contracts are around college campuses. But until officials find a way to put an end to them, students will continue to bear the brunt of this housing issue. John Su and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
The leaders of the U.S. and Britain have reaffirmed their support for Ukraine, but they did not lift restrictions on how Kyiv can use their weapons. British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer traveled to Washington for talks with U.S. President Joe Biden. Starmer was expected to push the U.S. president to allow Ukraine to use long-range missiles to hit targets inside Russia. Ukraine says that's the only way to bring an end to the war. But there are fears that it could escalate the conflict. Russia has said such a move would amount to NATO entering the war. The World Health Organization has approved the first vaccine for Mpox. It's a major development in efforts to contain the spread of the disease, which has badly hit the Democratic Republic of Congo and several of its African neighbors. Over 20,000 cases and 500 deaths from Mpox have been recorded so far this year. Mpox is a virus transmitted by close personal contact, and it often causes rashes. While it can clear up on its own, it can be fatal to children and older people. Israel's killing of a Turkish-American activist has sparked outrage across the world. But advocates say it's part of a much larger pattern from the Israeli military. Harel Hughes reports.
The body of Aysener Ezgi Aige arrives in Turkey to her waiting family and for her burial. The 26-year-old Turkish-American was shot by Israeli troops in early September while she was protesting illegal settlements and violence in the occupied West Bank.
keyfine bakabilirdi. Rahat bir yaşam sürebilirdi. Ama o ideallerinin peşinde koştu. Her şeyi bıraktı. Orta Doğu cehennemine gitti. O kadar idealistti.
Israel has taken responsibility and say her death was unintentional. But witnesses say she was deliberately targeted following a pattern of killings in the West Bank.
Left on the ground. This isn't an isolated incident. It happens in the context of the 17 people who were killed in demonstrations in Beta since 2021. We have heard nothing about them because they're not Americans.
You know, it was an intentional killing. They shot her in the head intentionally, and it was a shot to kill. And we need accountability for this and for many other similar crimes.
Her death sparked outrage across the world. Turkey has accused Israel of murder and launched an investigation saying they would seek international arrest warrants. U.S. President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and other U.S. officials have called her death unacceptable in some of their harshest comments about Israel over the past year.
Her killing was both unprovoked and unjustified. No one should be shot and killed for attending a protest. No one should have to put their life at risk just for freely expressing their views.
Funeral preparations are underway for Aysener in Turkey. Her death has cast a spotlight on the exploding violence in the West Bank, where hundreds of people have been killed over the past year. And her family hopes her killers will be brought to justice. Joseph Wu and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Wildlife is thriving along a mountain trail in eastern Hualien's picturesque Taroko Gorge. The national park is still recovering from a massive magnitude 7.2 earthquake that struck the area in April, triggering landslides that cut off the trail and causing destruction around the country. Sandy Chi reports on the resilience of life in the gorge.
Patrolling the Sakadang River Trail, these national park rangers are checking up on the local wildlife. Taroko National Park in eastern Hualien County suffered some of the worst damage from a magnitude 7.2 earthquake that struck Taiwan in April.
土石崩塌，我们很担心会影响到它回游的路径。台风之后有冲掉，那因为现在都进不去，那我们至少这一站看起来是还好。那我们持续等那个工程修复情形，只要可以再往前推进，我们就会再进去看。
Despite the earthquake's devastation of the gorge, officials report that the Sakadang River's ecology appears to have held onto its rich biodiversity.
台湾扁绒螯蟹，这是我们这边的特有种，目前看到也是都有记录。那其他的我们有日本瓢鳍虾虎。
Rangers say they've been working to remove invasive species that have appeared in the river in recent years, and they have more to do to protect the native ecology. But for now, at least, life finds a way, even in the face of some of Mother Nature's most extreme conditions. Scott Huang and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
With the Mid-Autumn Festival just a few days away, Taiwan is cracking down on people bringing pork into the country, part of efforts to keep out African swine fever. Central government officials have checked quarantine procedures at Taiwan's international airports. People often bring food products from abroad back home as gifts for friends. To protect the domestic pork industry from the highly lethal disease, travelers are banned from bringing in pork products. Several neighboring countries like China, Vietnam, and Thailand all have ASF outbreaks. The ban has been in place for years, and violators could be fined over $6,000 US. Taiwan competed in Olympic men's fencing for the first time in 36 years at the Paris Games. Though it didn't medal, it may have marked a comeback for the country. And now, one fencer from France has decided to throw his lot in with Taiwan, hoping to help Team Taiwan shine in Los Angeles in 2028. Leslie Liao met up with him in Paris.
Born to a French father and a Taiwanese mother, fencer Yilou Guimont lives in France and practices the sport there. But he recently switched banners, going from representing France at competitions to representing Taiwan.
Hello, 大家好，我是给一卢台湾代表队击剑选手。
As a child, Ilu didn't have the knack for sports he does now.
My parents really want me to do sport, but I was bad at everything. And once there is like an experience to do in fencing near my house, and I tried, I was also bad.
Things changed for Ilu when he was around 12 years old. His grandmother fell ill, so his family traveled to Taiwan that summer to take care of her. Across the street from his grandmother's hospital in northern Taiwan's Taoyuan City was a high school that had a fencing team. Ilu's father asked if his son could train with them, and they agreed. Ilu says the difference in attitudes toward training between Taiwan and France rekindled his interest in the sport.
Fencing in France, especially for kids, is for fun. So you just like playing, but in Taiwan it was a serious thing. Like you need to train, you need to do footwork, you need to do strength, you need to do power.
Ilu spent only 3 or 4 months that summer fencing in Taiwan, but the short time had a huge impact on his life.
First I was doing regional competition, which I do pretty good. Then I go to like a special like high-level center for young people, juniors fencer. And then like I go to World Cups in international for France.
Ilu went on to win medals as a junior fencer for Team France. But in 2021, he made the decision to switch flags and begin competing for Taiwan. He says if it weren't for his time in Taiwan, he never would have discovered a love for fencing.
The most deeply linked I was in Taiwan, of course, was my family on my mother's side, but it was also fencing because of that period in Taoyuan.
Ilu's specialty is epee, one of 3 swords used in the sport, and he's the highest ranked epee fencer in Taiwan. His fencing partners say his diversity on the strip is his strength.
So I'd say it's quite balanced in the sense that he can do anything. He can be quite passive and pick you off and be very clean, but he can also be quite aggressive and strong.
He's also a player, defensive player who can progress, who can play in a different style. You know, he will not be blocked in a certain style of fencing.
And with a keen knowledge of France's fencing culture and an interest in developing Taiwan's, Ilu wants to help elevate the sport in the country where his passion was lit.
I saw like a whole bunch of talents you have in Taiwan. They just need to be a little bit pushed, and I want to be that push also for them.
Ilu missed out on his chance to compete for Taiwan on his home turf at the Paris Olympics, but he's looking beyond, eyeing the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028, and hoping to help Taiwan secure its first fencing medal at the Games. Howard Zhang, Leon Lian, and Leslie Liao in Paris, France for TaiwanPlus.
Tourists are flocking to see new art installations along the beaches of Taidong. The South Link Arts Festival opened with 5 installations spread across several kilometers of coastline. With this year's theme of light, the work aims to reflect the natural glow of the sun and the stars on Taidong's coast. One artist says the theme helped them portray humanity's role in nature.
这样子灵感从哪里来吗？就是圈，代表着一种对世界的一种爱，对人对一个环境的一个保护，对人的一个保护。
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. If you want to get more of our reports, download our app or visit our website, TaiwanPlus.com. And before we go, check out this light exhibit in Singapore with millions of LED light displays and colorful lanterns. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. We'll see you next time.
I'm Leslie Liao in Paris, France, and this is TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.